back to another Last Week in Comics where I talk about the last week in comics and tell you what came out this last week. I have raving reviews from one particular person who says this series is great because I can't get out to a local comic book shop consistently, so this is great to know what's happening.
I love you, Metro Man!
And I love you, random citizen!
Thanks, random person. I like that. That's what I'm going for here. Anyway, not a lot of books came out for DC, so we're gonna go over the ones that did, the ones I read, and then we're going to dive into solicits and indie books that came out this week. I was originally planning on talking about DC's Lex in the City first because that video has somehow done really popular on TikTok for some reason. I don't understand why it didn't do popular here. I think it's because Bat Family fans are flocking to it. I don't like them. Please get out of my house. So instead, I'm going to talk about DC's The Power Company, DC Power Rise of the Power Company, which is DC trying to revitalize and use a lot of their black superheroes, starting a new kind of division called the Power Company, led by Josiah Power. So this book kind of serves as an introduction to them. We are eventually getting, I think, either the first part in a mini-series or just another one-shot of them in April, which is weird. I don't like it. Just give them a whole book, especially because this one, I think, is probably the better book that came out this week. The better anthology that came out this week. I have to look up the stories because there's always, so many of them. But this one doesn't have nearly as many. Actually, that's kind of the crazy thing, because DC's Lex in the City was, 80 plus fucking pages, and this one I think it's 60 maybe. It was short, and I'm mad because it should have been longer. So there's 4 stories in it. The first one is Josiah Power in the Power Company. It's basically the bookends of this anthology. It's essentially him deciding after the death of his nephew to restart the Power Company to help bring black heroes together. Pretty simple. He's asking Black Lightning to lead, which means that we are going to see them in the upcoming Black Lightning, or in the currently going, I wouldn't say ongoing because it's only a 6-issue miniseries, but in the currently going Black Lightning series, we will see the Power Company later, which is great because I was already reading that, and it's a great book, and more people should buy it and check it out because I need it to go on for longer. Please. I'm desperate. The next one is between Vixen and Bolt. If you don't know who Bolt is, because he is kind of a recent character, his name is Malik. He was given powers by Black Adam in, when all this stuff happening because Black Adam was, the movie with The Rock was happening. Yeah, that's when he came out. But he's a great character on his own. I like him. I like his, insistent need to help people. I think he's great. I like legacies. Sue me. Essentially, this is kind of a story to show Bolt getting his powers back, essentially after the events of, Absolute Power. And it makes a very important point that, sure, Black Adam might have given you the powers, but the powers are inside of you. The powers activate because of how good you are. It has nothing to do with The Rock, which I think is funny in retrospective. It was a really, really good story. I'm glad that he's back in some capacity, at least. That's pretty much what I say about every character in this book. I'm glad that they're back in some capacity. The next one is Cyborg and Joe Mullins in Unfinished Business, which is a team-up I didn't think I needed to happen until it did. I don't know much about Joe. I have heard a lot of reviews of her Greenland, or of Far Sector, that are basically read up to issue 11 and then drop the book immediately. Thanks, Rena. But it's great to see these two heroes interact, especially because they seem to be on kind of opposite sides of the DC universe in terms of, showing up and things. The cream of the crop of this book, the reason I picked this up, they gave a story to Duke Thomas and Jace Fox. It's called Dynamic Duo, and it's single-handedly one of the best things that has ever been written for either of them. okay? Because it's essentially their first team up. Duke talks a lot about working with the Bat family, how they work as a team, all this, like, you know, nice stuff. And while Jace is kind of a little bit more reserved about it, he's like, I don't need a team. I don't need this, you know? And he's a little bit more defensive than Duke would have probably wanted from the only other black member of the Bat family. And so they get to talking, and it results in probably one of the best scenes I've seen, where they're talking about how, like, Duke specifically is talking about how he feels like even though he does have a place in the Bat family, he's not really a part of them. And like he feels that like he has to watch a lot more of what he's doing because he is a black superhero. He has to go through so much more than a lot of the other Bat family members because he's a black superhero, and they're just not gonna get it. And you know, Jace is like, you know, I agree. I see it, like I don't have the words to describe it. I think people need to read it, but like it's them talking about their place in the Bat family, their place in the Batman mythos, and how much they have to watch themselves, and how it would be nice to have someone who has a similar experience. It's nice to have each other. And I love it so much that I need a series of just these two. I like, you know, the more hardened Jace with a young upstart like Duke. I think it would be a great series, and it would give both characters a much needed book to themselves. Because Duke hasn't been showing up in a lot, and neither has Jace. And it's really disappointing after, you know, Future State, after how much everyone still continues to praise We Are Robin. Like, and how much Duke is in Wayne Family Adventures. Why hasn't he gotten a book yet? I know why, but why haven't you given him one? And it's lovely, and it's entirely what these two characters needed, and it should have been like an entire series. I say this about a lot of things, but I especially mean it with this Duke and Jace book, like, story. This needed to be an entire series. I needed a, you know, Batman and Signal, like, ongoing, like, yesterday. Like, less books about fucking Nightwing, less books about Red Hood, less books about Tim Drake. Damian can keep his few books that he has. More books about Duke and Jace. Okay, I love them so much. This has brought me immense joy. And it's just so lovely. I love it. They're my favorite. Okay, the next one is Lex in the City, which has fucking 8 stories. I already posted my review of it on both YouTube Shorts and TikTok. For some reason, the TikTok one blew up. I think it's because I mentioned the Bat family, and then they all just, like, glommed onto it. So I'm really hoping when I film one about the Power Company, it causes more people to pick it up. But I know that's not gonna happen, because Bat family fans are racist. We'll get to what they do and what fan and bullshit they kind of do with Damian in this. So the first book in this anthology is, of course, the self-titled Lex in the City. Looking back on it, it's probably not as good as I thought it was, but I like cheesy romance novels, and that's exactly what this story was giving. Like, you know, enemies to lovers subplot. Like, I would watch an entire rom-com of this. Of, like, Lex Luthor trying to, like, impress this reporter for no reason, like, other than he's like, ooh, you're calling me out on my bullshit. He doesn't have hair. He can't do this. It's fine. It's serviceable. I could have gone for more Superman stories in this. Or just more non-Batman and Titans related stories. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, why is half the book Batman? A Valentine's Day gift for Poison Ivy. Obviously, this one stars Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. It's the obligatory Harley Ivy story. Honestly, I kind of agree with the general it's all about Harley Quinn trying to find a Valentine's Day present for Poison Ivy. And I do agree with the general consensus online, which is it infantilizes Harley too much, you know, it turns Poison Ivy more into a doting mother than, like, an actual partner. it's the same issues that we've been having with this couple in particular for the past couple years, especially when they're not being written by G. Willow Wilson specifically. It's the same old, same old. Next up is the obligatory Mr. Freeze story. It's all about it's about like two of his henchmen who are in love, and one of them almost dies, so he freezes them because they remind him of Nora. The Batman animated series deal is fucking Mr. Freeze. I don't give a fuck about him. I don't give a fuck about Mr. Freeze. You tell the same goddamn story about Nora dying. You just keep on, you like unthaw that woman a bit, and then you put her back in the fridge. Like, literally you are literally putting her in a fridge. The next one is one of two Titan stories. This one's called Together Again. It's the core 5, but there's no Donna in it, so I didn't give a fuck and I didn't read it. Titans fans seem to be kind of mad about it. Mad specifically that Donna wasn't in it. This is the general consensus. They were like, no Donna, get the fuck out of here. Next up is probably my favorite of the anthology, which, again, I say I don't like the Bat family. I do like Damian, however. It's a Damian-centered one. Well, it's more the Robins-centered. It's called To Live and Date in Gotham. It's all about Tim, Stephanie, and Jason helping Damian plan a date for him in Flatline. And I'm a sucker for Damian in Flatline. I've read all of Robin's 2021, or Robin 2021. I can't say Robin's 2021. That was a different book, and it sucked. But I really like Damian in Flatline as a ship. I really like that she's a fan of Talia. I really like everything that has to do with her. So I would have gone for more her, but I do like how much it showed Damian's, like, romantic side. He's, like, geeking over her. He's calling her the Princess of Pain and saying that she'll love it. Like, it's adorable. I love that part. However, there was a little bit of problems with them doing fanon again. Specifically, I know that a lot of people pointed out that Jason called Tim his replacement. I don't really care about that because I don't care about them. I, however, care about the racism towards Damian specifically, because a lot of my Arab mutuals pointed out that it's kind of weird there's this panel where, Damian's trying to explain why he went to Tim instead of, the obvious choice Stephanie, who he's the closest to because they were Batgirl and Robin together. That aside. But he says, it's like Grayson's too much, Jason sleeps around too much, which is really, the problem specifically is that he says that Stephanie is too female, which kind of goes into that stereotype of Arabs where they're very sexist, and it wasn't the best choice, especially because they also whitewashed Damian again. He is pale as fuck. I don't know why he's the same skin color as Tim. Tim doesn't go outside. He should be pale as fuck. Wait, no, that's also fanon. Yeah, exactly. If you're sticking to fanon, why is Damian the same color as Tim? He's very fanon-y, Bat Boys and Steph, which is exactly how I would describe it, because Steph's barely in it. Give me more Stephanie Brown. When is she appearing in Batgirl, Tate Bromble? I don't think you watched this. The other notable thing to come out of this is that there's this, like, last page where it's showing all the couples, Tim and Bernard, Damian and Flatline, and then in the middle they have Cass and Steph because they're hanging out on Valentine's Day, going dancing, and it seems like they knew that it came off too much as them being a couple because they had to stick Jason in there, even though in the previous panels they said that it was just a two of them thing. So it's, awesome lesbian couple, evil, intimidating horse. The next one is the Riddler in Riddle Me Kiss. It's all about how the Riddler gets no bitches. And I can say that here. I couldn't say it on TikTok, but I can say it here. Riddle me this, Batman. Who has all the answers, but none of the bitches? Okay, next up, I also didn't read it. It's Raven and Beast Boy, obligatory 2003 Titans thing.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
I don't like either of them. Especially because they won't commit to making Raven Indian. And then the last one, oh my god, when I saw it, I knew all my Hawk mates, mutuals, were going to be up in arms about it, and they were. It's Hawkman in Heartbreak Lane, where he's mourning Shira Hall. Not Shira Hall, as in the Thangarian Shira, but his Shira, which was the Earth Shira Hall. Like Hall. I know it gets confusing. I know it's a whole mess. We're still not really, but it's a really interesting story about loss and the separation and the just because what took Shira wasn't actual fate. It wasn't like an event where they're going to be reincarnated again together. It was Crisis. Crisis took her from him, and he's mourning that aspect of her. That he really cannot truly get her back. That her soul has now been split between two people, which it isn't anymore. Kendra no longer has that anymore. She is her own person, but is clearly takes place before that. It's split between two people. He can't get the real her back. It's drama, and I love it, and it's great. Overall thoughts of DC Lex in the City. I prefer How to Lose a Guy Gardner in 10 Days, which is also just true of how I see the two movies. I liked How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days more than I do Sex in the City, so makes sense. But also in general, like, that book had a lot less Batman and, Batman adjacent, like the Titans, less Batman and Batman adjacent characters. It was a lot more variety of characters in DC, which is great because a lot of these characters don't get a home in books, so this is kind of like the only opportunity we have to see them. I'm specifically talking about Booster Gold. Where is he? Where has he been? Is he okay? Ted's here. Ted's like 10 times more annoying and everything, and people were like theorizing, saying that like, oh, it's because he remembers pulling all these pranks, but he thinks that it was just him and not him and Booster. And that's kind of sad. I wish that they would expand upon that. Maybe we're ramping up to Ted Quarterback. DC, hit me up. Hit me up. I'll write it. Me and Stack will write it. Also, hit us up for the next Valentine's Day special. We'll make Booster canon. Please. Please. I can only do half a heart because Stack is on the ground. Stack is dying, so finish the heart and post Stack. Okay, so next book on my list, Green Lantern Summer 19. The only thing that I heard about it was they made Khan ugly, like really ugly. Like, I'm gonna have Stack impose a picture of it right here over my dear friend Kermit the Frog. He was like really fucking ugly, which is like, he hasn't been this ugly since like 2003. Like, that's how bad it was. So RIP to like the 5 Con Kent fans that are out there. And also, Hal Jordan's annoying as always. That's why I don't read Green Lantern. And then last on the list for releases from DC, Superman, the Lex Luthor special. For some reason, I kept on getting people in my comments saying that they wanted Lex in the City to be all about Lex Luthor. And I'm like, literally, he has a special over here. So I just don't think that this book was marketed well because I heard nothing about it. I assume it's the usual Superman fare. I assume it has something to do with the fact that Lois's Superwoman powers came from a LexCorp suit. I assume Black Mercy's in it. You know the deal with Lex. Maybe he's ginger again. So before we go into the indie comics that came out this week, like mid last week, after I filmed last week in comics, DC finally released the April solicits. So I just kind of want to go over what books are going to be released while we're still on the DC train and before I get to the indie stuff. So first announcement, of course, is the Summer Superman special. We knew this was coming. I guess they're doing a special on top of the mini-series that he's also getting, and of course the ongoing. It's written by Dan Slott, and Joshua Williamson is back on it, and Mark Waid. Apparently, it's essentially setting us up for the rest of the Summer of Superman, which makes sense as to why it would come out in April. Unlike the Power Company, which is coming out in April, it should have just released, like, this month. If it's just going to be another one-shot. Oh, of course, we also got, this has been announced for a while now, but we got, the official listing for, Absolute Green Lantern #1. Of course, written by Al Ewing, my least favorite Ewing. But really, who can compete with Eve? They should have given the book to Eve. I don't know, Joe Mullins looks amazing in it. I like the concept of Joe Mullins. I still have not read Far Sector, and I was told to drop it after 11 issues, so really, who knows when I'm gonna get to it. I just like Green Lanterns that aren't Hal Jordan. Let me be perfectly honest and perfectly clear here. Oh, so, also on top of the fact that Batman Superman World's Finest has been going on for like 2 years, 3 years at this point. I think it came out the same year as Poison Ivy. It's been going on for a while. Mark Waid has too many books at DC. Let him rest. But they are doing a 2025 annual alongside the main book. It's essentially they're like crossing over the 2 Mark Waid books. Like the Legion of Doom is going to attack the Justice League Unlimited. Oh, and they're also retelling John Stewart's origin in the book. They're bringing him into the mix, which makes sense. They're slowly, with how long it's been going on, they're slowly crossing further from when World's Finest was releasing to the end of World's Finest. A lot of annuals are also weirdly releasing this month, because Detective Comics is also getting an annual, which I didn't think that Detective Comics would need an annual because that series has been going on for too long. Oh yeah, I forgot Tom Taylor's on Detective Comics, that's why I'm not there. I didn't get to talk about this on this channel, but Secret 6 issue 2 is coming out in April. Issue 1 is coming out in March, of course. I'm really hyped for the book. I like Dreamer, I like John, and I really fucking love Jay. I need him in more things. I need this man in everything. Put him in everything, DC. Give him a series with Lois Lane. That's what he deserves. He fuck his boyfriend. Fuck John. He can be the supportive boyfriend in this. I need a team up special of Jay and Lois, and they're doing shenanigans. They're doing reporter adventures. I need it. So, the Green Lantern Corps, which is of course the book with all of the Green Lanterns in it, is coming out with some really cute variant covers. Specifically, there's one with Jess boxing Kilowog, and I think that's adorable. I'm gonna buy it. I wasn't gonna buy this book. Oh no. I might buy this book. Let's be honest here, I buy a lot of books. Of course, as I've already mentioned multiple times in this video, because I do need this book to do well, they are doing another one-shot of the Power Company called, Power Company Recharged. It says #1. I thought it was originally announced as a one-shot. I guess it might be an actual mini. I hope it's a mini. I hope there's, like, a really good conversation that Black Lightning's having, and I really hate that it's gonna, like, end in, like, 2 issues, so I hope that it gets continued in this book. If this is an ongoing, like, all the initial announcements said it was, like, a one-shot. So, and it's, like, 48 pages, so, like, if that's, like, one-shot territory in terms of page number, so, like, what are we doing here, DC? What are you doing here? What are we doing? Are you greenlighting this book or not? I might have talked about this, but they are doing a Peacemaker, Vigilante, and Eagly special, which is a book made specifically for me and the other, like, 500 Vigilante fans that came out of the Peacemaker show, so I'm excited for it. I'm buying all the variants. Especially the one where he's getting attacked by Eagly. In preparation for the new Superman movie, they are releasing a bunch of compendiums and, deluxe editions of Superman and Superman adjacent stories. So, you know, the death of Superman, Superman's secret origins, who killed Jimmy Olsen, apparently. I don't know. Why not republish Jack Kirby's, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen? I enjoyed those. Ooh, also, in important news for specifically Wonder Woman fans, they are doing a reprinting of, Wonder Woman Historia. So I'm probably going to pick that up, because I didn't pick up Wonder Woman Historia originally, because I was a broke kid when that book released. Oh, and then, of course, for those of you who are Milestone fans, and probably myself included, April is also seeing the release of, Static Season 1, in the DC Compact. I'm going to buy it. I like Static. I really do wish that they would do like this similar thing with more Milestone books, but I assume it's because I think that they would have to pay Dwayne McDuffie's widow royalties, which they should. Give her all the money in the world. Let her be in charge of DC. They're also reprinting some of Batwoman, I think. I think it's the new 52 version, but they are also putting her in the DC Compact line, which, great, just in time for June. Ooh, they're also doing a compact edition, or deluxe edition of Cosmic Odyssey. I've never heard of this book before, but apparently it was a series that was done, presumably in, like, the 80s. I would assume it's the 80s, but, you know, Jim Starlin's on it. Oh, they're also reprinting Dr. Fate by Jim DeMatteis, which if you're a fan of JLI, you know Jim DeMatteis. You know J.M. DeMatteis. Speaking of Milestone, they are releasing Compendium number 4, which I've seen Compendium 1 and 2. I don't know where Compendium 3 went at my local comic book shop, but if they had all of them, I would buy all of them. Oh, they're doing a omnibus for DC Universe by Steve Ditko. I didn't realize he did that much for DC. I assume you really can't... Yeah, they already collected Jack Kirby shit in an omnibus. It's the fourth world. And for April solicits, is a lot of the ongoings keep ongoing. You know how it be with ongoings. They keep on going. Now on to the portion where I just highlight a lot of indie comics that came out this week. First up from Image Comics, a thing called Ice Cream Man. Someone should read that book and report back to me. Oh, it's a horror one-shot. One-page horror stories, which has a lot of, like, really, like, big-named writers. I don't like Grant Morrison, but Grant Morrison's on it. Patton Oswalt, Jeff Johns, Jeff Lemire, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Matt Fraction, Denz Camp. So I think that's interesting. I think that's fun. I think having a 22-page limit and then doing one-page horror stories is fun. It's a fun concept. From Dark Horse, if you're a fan of Critical Role or any of those D&D games, but specifically Critical Role, they are making comics for them currently, so you should go check them out. I'm not a fan of, despite the fact that I do DC&D, I'm not that big of a fan of D&D. Or watching other people play D&D. Okay, but last, and certainly not least, because they're probably one of my favorite non-Big Two publishers out there, IDW, of course, Star Trek Defiant released. I gotta get my dad on Star Trek comic. But so from IDW, we have Star Trek Defiant, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin 2, Re-Evolution. I didn't know that they were still making Last Ronin. And then, of course, the mainline Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book, which I didn't still think they redid the numbers. It's on issue 6. I didn't know that they were still publishing Turtles comics, which is why I do this series. Because I also like discovering what they're publishing every single week. I know that it sounds like I just like telling people what came out this week, but I like discovering it too, and this gives me a discover it. So anyway, that was pretty much it for the last week in comics. I do the show every week. If you want more of me, there's a previous episode of Ash and Their Fantastic Friends, which is a live show that I do with my friends where we talk about comics and pretty much anything that comes to mind. We'll probably talk about some weird shit again. I think we're making OCs this time. I still have to do mine, or just dust off one of my old ones and redo her. Anyway, so that might be what's up here. It also might be another video of mine. It's whatever is best tailored for you, so you should click on it, because I made it specifically for you. No one else. I made it for you, so you should click on it. And then at the bottom here is the rest of last week in comics. If you want to see what happened during the month of January, if you want to see what happened in December, and if you want to see what happened in last November. I think those are all the months I have now. I've been doing this show for a surprising amount of time. It's actually kind of shocking. I think I'm on like 12 episodes, which is pretty cool. I didn't think that this would turn into a thing, but now it's a thing. And then over here is subscribe to me. Subscribe to me, please. I make funny content. Please subscribe to me. I'm trying to monetize YouTube so I can actually pay my editor. I mean, like, I pay him in, like, kisses and cuddles and buying him food and clothes and providing housing for him. And also subscribe so I can start monetizing YouTube and I can pay Squid to edit things. There's more stuff coming out that I'm doing. I'm doing an entire... Oh my god, I forgot to make an announcement about this. So I'm actually about to do an entire series of how to start collecting comics soon. So, going over graded copies, going over trade paperback versus single issue, going over omnibuses and why I don't like them. Why I only use them for display purposes. Comic book box recommendations. Basically everything that has to do my vast, I've been collecting comics since I was 8. I have a very big knowledge on what makes a good comic book collection. Okay? I have some very pricey issues. I had to get insurance for it. That's how bad it got. But so I'm gonna start that series. And then I actually have a date for the Wyatt Wingfoot video essay. I'm deciding to do it on Wyatt's 60th anniversary. So it's gonna come out June 2026. And you don't want to miss that because it's 8 hours of me fucking ranting about Wyatt Wingfoot. That's right. We're doing it. I'm writing. I have to go back to writing it. But we're doing that. We are doing the Wyatt Wingfoot video essay, and I'm going to talk about Jim Thorpe way too long. But subscribe. Watch another video. Other Last Week in Comics. And doing my outro. But it's kind of weird because I have to hold the mic. And cut.